Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Ronan Nazran Talk. I'm Solitary Ronan from Solitary Ronan Films.
And I'm the other guy.
Excellent. And today we are going to talk about Flash Gordon and childhood films. Flash Gordon just recently got a 4K release and a 5-disc special edition, but there's also steelbooks and standard Blu-rays. For me, Flash Gordon has been in my life for a long time, and I've always loved it, and we're just going to have a bit of a discussion about it, because it's still, bizarrely, I think, a little bit underrated and kind of misunderstood, I think.
Yeah, I think this will be Flash Gordon plus whatever film we get around to talking about after that.
Yeah.
Really. So yeah, the box, I'm looking at the box set right now, because both Ronan and I actually bought the way too expensive one, the one you shouldn't buy when you're sane, that we bought it anyway.
Yes, I don't even have a 4K player, but I'm future-proofing.
Yeah, 4K, and you get the remaster, you get the soundtrack, you get the Life After Flash documentary, you get the bonus disc, so it's 5 discs, plus you get a couple of booklets from the comic book, one with pictures, and it's one of those things that's overproduced, but it's so lovely that you don't really mind. You don't really mind you've spent all that money on something you probably shouldn't have spent much money on.
Even get a sew-on patch.
I know. When I saw that, I was very thrilled. I was unusually thrilled to that. When I saw that, I was like...
Makes it so worthwhile.
It was actually... Now you suddenly think, I should keep this for the box set, but there's some part of me thinking, can I put that on my arm?
Yeah.
Every
box set should have a sew-on patch.
I know, it's... If I had an extra one, I might have actually put it on something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a lovely box set, and what's even better is the extras are terrific, but the film has been remastered beautifully. Everything pops now in this film. It's gorgeous. I mean, because have you had the old Blu-ray? The old Blu-ray was a bit faded and weirdly coloured. It wasn't quite the best transfer. Very whitish and pale.
Yeah, the reds weren't quite popping.
No, and all the golds weren't quite right either. So this one corrects all that, where you get all the colours. And I'm actually watching 4K, the actual 4K, proper 4K, and I was very, very impressed by it. I was
excellent,
very happy with it. If you have a 4K player, it's worth buying Flash Gordon 4K, because this is one of the films that makes you see what you've invested by a player and a disc and a TV.
Yeah.
This is the one that actually makes it worthwhile, because you can see where you spent the money. I mean, the Blu-rays looks good, but the 4K, you just get these colours like Ming's, all the Ming's costumes, all the clouds of just basically ink and water. They look absolutely gorgeous in this one, and
it does seem like a film that's born for 4K, really.
Yeah, I mean, in like Michael Pill movies, that seems to be natural for 4K when people who use colour, you know, who love colour, and yeah, I mean, we should point out, I think we were both of the age when this came out when we were kids. Really, this film came out when we were kids, so it's...
Yes.
I can remember a time when there was no Flash Gordon movie, briefly. But then there was a Flash Gordon movie just after Star Wars, and just after Superman, and suddenly there's a Flash Gordon movie, and what's it going to be? Did you see it in the cinema, or did you see it on TV later?
I saw it on TV later.
Yeah, me too.
I'd seen the Buster Crab stuff, because that was shown on TV.
Yeah.
But this was a completely whole new world, literally.
Yeah, I managed to actually watch it on my VR setting thing when on the old Blu-ray. I put it on the VR thing because I've got the cinema mode to see the kind of cinematics of it, and it was really wonderful to watch then. Obviously, when I upgrade to the PS5, I'll do the same to the 4K version just to see how good it looks.
Yeah.
But Even then, it looked good. It looked really good with all the production design. But this new remaster, you see the production designs, how much they spent on the sets and the costumes, and
Okay, so my earliest memories of Flash was on television, but again, I think it was a cut version because there's lines of dialogue where Timothy Dalton uses stern language, and also when Clytus dies and parts fall out, that was always cut in television. So it was kind of exciting to see it in DVD, and it was just almost like a whole new film.
yeah, I mean, I don't remember that seeing it when I was a kid, so it must have been like I remember watching a lot, but I remember the scary bit being the hand into the thing. It was never about the Clytus things. It
Yes,
must have been cut out because
yeah,
obviously that would have freaked you out. It was a kid with the Clytus with the all that stuff coming out of him.
yeah, because the BBC for quite a long time would obviously dub things with language quite badly, like Aliens and Midnight Run, and even obviously cut Flash Gordon, which was a PG, but
Yeah, no, Beverly Hills Cop. How do you could do that one?
yes,
That's that'd be pretty scary. Yeah, no, but so they cut that a little, but Flash Gordon's still, you know, it's still a very colourful film. It's a very beautiful film.
yes,
Because I mean, I watched it in 4K and the golds look great. The reds look great. As we know, Dino De Laurentiis loved red. He was
yes,
fanatic about red. He thought red was the most amazing colour ever. It seems. And he liked directors with light colour, it seems, because he loved David Lynch, who also loved colour, you know. And he was kind of a
yes,
strange person. It seemed a lot of people seemed to be scared of him on set, and you know, apparently he had to get rid of him before they shot anything because everyone was too scared of him, and they were like, "Dino, fuck off," basically.
yes. There's wonderful extras, especially Brian Blessed in the film,
Yeah,
talking about Dino De Laurentiis and the antics he used to get up to.
yeah. I mean, he was pretty. It sounded pretty weird. It sounded like he was a very strange person who had his own way of doing things that didn't really always mix with logic. Because he's Italian, so he came from a different culture, and I think he took things seriously that other people didn't. But there was advantages because he brought in people who were very artistic and very weird. So there was advantages and disadvantages to that, really.
Yeah, and there's films where he interfered a lot, and then there's other films like Blue Velvet where he was pretty much just hands off.
Yeah, because I mean, knew it was somebody else's film, and they knew what they were doing, would leave them. I mean, maybe just stuff for Cronenberg, like Dead Zone, which was partly hands off with. Then there was other films like King Kong remake, which was just weird. It's like, how would anyone think that that guy in the big ape suit would actually be thought of as acceptable to the mass audience?
Yes.
I mean, really. I mean, that was just weird. I like that film. I'm a big King Kong fan generally, but that was weird. That was genuinely strange.
Yes, and of course, originally it was going to be a Nicholas Rogue film.
Yes, Nicholas Rogue had an idea. It was a much more serious film. Him and Michael Allen, who wrote Enter the Dragon, tried to write it, and they were big fans of the Alex Raymond original strip. They were really into that, and they wanted it to be um, as genuinely close to that as possible. Really, I think,
Yeah.
and the spirit of it, which meant it wasn't humorous, it wasn't campy, it was a genuine film. And they did a lot of pre-production work, so a lot of the stuff was done that was a lot of the set was built for Nicholas Rogue. You know, there was a lot of casting was done by him, so a lot of the film was his in a weird way, and there was a lot of this idea of Ming being a god, and they'll try to fight God was from Nicholas Rogue.
Yeah, they were going for a kind of Adam and Eve story, and Ming as a angry god chasing them about.
Yeah, you could see that in the film. So I mean, it wasn't just purely Mike Hodges' idea; he was brought in, but a lot of the original idea was Nicholas Rogue, and a lot of it kind of still filtered through. And you'd also a lot of Italian designers going mental with a budget.
Yes. I mean, I do think Mike Hodges should get some kind of award for actually being able to come in, do a job, deal with De Laurentiis, and actually create a film that has endured for all this time.
Yeah, I mean, he's always an underrated director. I mean, he's done a lot of good stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
Get Carter's terrific, but very different from Flash Gordon. Terminal Man's really good. Black
yeah, I really
Rainbow.
like Pulp. That's
Yeah, I haven't seen Pulp
Michael
yet.
Caine. That's really good.
Croupier is really good.
Yeah,
Other one he did with Clive Owen, I think it was like Sell the Dead, was really good as well.
yeah. I think I'm gonna hopefully do an overview of Mike Hodges at some point.
Yes, I mean, he's done a lot of really good films. He also did More from Outer Space, but no one's perfect.
Oh, that's pretty awful.
Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking.
But he does briefly mention that in the extras as well. There's a good interview with him. Oh, we talk about the cast. It's a pretty interesting cast, to say the least.
Yes. We'll start off with the leads, who are unknowns at the time, basically, and would generally be unknown afterwards. They're not like they didn't cast big stars in the lead characters. They actually just cast unknowns. I mean, Melody Anderson was in TV shows and things, and I remember seeing her on some TV shows. I think it's pretty fair to say she's the better of the two leads.
Yes. Yes. She's
She's a lot of fun in
she's
this.
spunky and
Yeah,
fun, and
yeah. She has the worst written part in the film, but she does it well and has some fun with it. And
she has
it's
one
like,
of my favourite lines in the whole film, where she tells Aura that she's given her word, and keeping her word is just one of the things that make us better than you,
yeah,
which I absolutely love.
yeah. No, she's a lot of fun. I mean, the character's very schizophrenic because sometimes she's very spunky, other times she's very weak. And I think that's just no one could really get through this one. That was
Yeah.
like just bad writing sometimes. But she did well. She was a lot of fun. She enjoyed to watch. I liked her beating up all those guards and shooting them all and stuff. I think she
Yeah.
shoots more people than Flash does.
Yeah. She's actually more proactive.
Yep. And Sam Jones' Flash is fun because he is so thick, the character. And that's the enjoyable thing with Flash is he's very sincere, but he's a kind of straight man for everyone else to play off, really.
Yes.
He's not meant to be complicated. He's
And
just
of
meant.
course, he was dubbed after the fact.
Yeah,
But that's a whole different story.
because him and Dino fell out.
Yes. So his part was actually dubbed.
Yep, and that was makes it strange because you can tell something's off.
Yeah.
There's something off, and they should have chosen a different actor to dub him.
But it
There's
also strangely adds to the weirdness of it.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you watch a dubbed film and it from like Japan. It is weird watching it dubbed, but this is dubbed from English into English.
Yes.
It's kind of weirdly strange, you know. Um,
I mean, a couple of the alternate flashes would have been interesting, but also it would be a completely different film. Because I'd known that Kurt Russell was possibly up for it, which would have been strange. But then I didn't realise in the extras I found that Harvey Keitel could have been Flash Gordon, which would have just been completely weird.
yeah,
And Jeff Bridges as well,
I mean,
who did King Kong.
I think Kurt Russell would have been fun as Flash. Actually, I mean,
Yeah.
he would have. He could be sincere, but he could send it up. He might have been a better choice. Ultimately, he would have probably have given it a different feel, but it might have stopped him from doing the John Carpenter films.
Yes.
And I'd rather him do John Carpenter films than do this.
Obviously, Big Trouble in Little China
is pretty much Flash Gordon.
It's pretty much Flash Gordon. But Harvey Keitel as Flash Gordon just seems surreal.
That feels like someone's teasing Dino and not telling him. We're joking. We're just joking. We're not. We're not serious with this one. But yeah, he's okay. I mean, it's one of those things. He's not that great an actor, but you don't really need a great actor in this part. You need someone who can be naive and silly. But some of his reactions is actually it's hard to blame him because sometimes it's the dubbing voice is probably where most of the problems come because it just feels weird sometimes. Some of the line readings is a bit weird, and
But then I suppose the Flash Gordon character in itself is more of a kind of symbol and more of a representation rather than an actual person anyway.
yeah, and it's obviously been influenced. They've taken the character, but they've always been influenced, at least in the rewrites, by Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Really, they're trying to make him as Luke Skywalker as possible. But it doesn't really work because he's a different kind of character, so it becomes his own thing anyway. It becomes like a campy version of Luke Skywalker, which makes it wonderful. And of course, the funny thing is, he's sincere. Then suddenly he's like, "Oh, she's really turning me on."
Yes.
I know, which is a wonderful joke. And yeah, the cast there is lots of fun, but the cast really is made up of the supporting cast because they are where all the fun is. They know exactly what movie they're in.
If it was a traditional supporting cast of like not really very interesting actors, the film just wouldn't be the same.
No.
It has two of the greatest villains of all time.
And it's every other actor overplaying. I mean, where Brian Blessed, obviously, being Brian Blessed.
Yes, another subtle moving performance.
Yep. He's like, I think I've said to you before that he should be in a Joel Schumacher Batman film. They should just cast him. Because that's what they were trying to do Brian Blessed before Brian Blessed.
Yeah, Blessed got it completely.
Yeah, I mean, even George Lucas brought me Star Wars eventually. She thought, well, Brian Blessed, just bring me Star Wars, why not?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, because it's fairly common knowledge that George Lucas really wanted to do Flash Gordon, and then because he couldn't afford the rights, he ended up doing Star Wars pretty much.
Yeah, and I mean, Brian Blessed has been obviously commented on, but Timothy Dalton's also wonderful as Errol Flynn, basically.
Yes.
He's basically Errol Flynn, but he's a lot of panache to it, and he's really having fun, and he's quietly setting up with it while still being really serious at the same time.
Yes, he's with his moustache and his big green gloves.
Yeah, but his moustache is always perfect.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. He knows what film he's in, but he takes it seriously. I think he gives the film a lot of a drive that Sam Jones can't really do.
Yeah.
Because he's taking it serious enough to keep the plot going. So he's doing a lot of the heavy lifting while being a supporting character.
He's an important character for that reason.
Yeah.
Again, if he was a typical supporting, not very interesting character, it just wouldn't have the same effect.
It's kind of weird because in most movies with the opposite round, that character's meant to be the hero.
Yeah.
And the Sam Jones uninteresting kind of thing would have been the support.
Yeah.
But here it's the other way around, and they're setting the whole thing up. So it's just wonderful because it's basically you've got a nobody playing against the future James Bond.
Yes.
And also you've got T'Pol, who did not know any line he will not yell.
Yes.
And he put his finger out and be like, all the time.
I was actually stunned in the extras that he's still alive. I didn't realise T'Pol was still alive. And he looks in good shape. So
yeah. I thought he was 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's like...
But I always get him confused with Herbert Lawman as a kid. Him and Herbert Lawman always seemed to be... always thought they were kind of the same person, and they weren't. Don't know why those two got confused in my head, but just I think they played similar parts.
Yeah.
And
again, for bizarre alternate casting, it was close to being Warren Oates as
awesome.
Zarkov. So you could have Harvey Keitel and Warren Oates.
Would have been a very
apparently, they decided on a coin toss. That's how Dino did it. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
But that's a perfect cast. No, T'Pol is...
Yeah.
He's just so good as Zarkov. He's so obsessive and weird and into it, even though he's playing an absurd character.
Yeah, and the scene where he's getting his mind wiped is just quite
horrifying.
Moving. Yeah,
it's horrifying for a kid's film.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, I thought that was horrifying. It was like, Jesus, that's...
Don't even mention the boar worms.
Yeah. And obviously, we've got Aurora, the most perverted Italian character ever in a film.
Yes, I mean, I'll admit it. I've never been able to watch Flash Gordon with my parents because it's absolutely filthy. It is a filthy film. It's just like so dirty.
I mean, her and Baron, their relationship is so sadistic and weird that it's like
Yes.
it's off the chart weird. And you've got Clytus trying in the middle of it as well, and it's like this is so strange.
Yeah,
And they
there's I
play it
mean,
up. They play it up
there's
so
so many
much.
great lines
Yeah.
between, when Clytus is talking about torturing Aura, and it's like, I think she actually liked it, and it's just like,
Yeah.
it's really twisted.
Yeah. And
And when like Ming's doing the ring thing with Melody Anderson, and Clytus is going, I've never seen any reaction. She even surpasses your daughter. And it's like,
yeah,
so he did that ring thing to his daughter. It's just
yeah,
like really
yeah. It's weird
creepy,
though.
and it's like, but it's so good.
Yeah, yeah. And you've also got Richard O'Brien in an unusually good guy part. It's like
Yes.
weird to see him as a good guy. It's like, what's wrong here? I
And
mean,
obviously for kids of the UK, you've got Peter Duncan from Blue
yeah,
Peter.
yep, of Blue Peter porno fame.
Yes. Giving a moving portrayal involving the tree stump.
Yeah. And if you get the extras, he went into Timothy Dalton years later and said, "Oh, you killed me in Flash Gordon." Timothy Dalton just walked away. It's
Just
like, okay.
uh, it's quite sad when he's got his the wood creature from the stump 40 years later, and it's just like rotted.
I know that creature was terrifying when you were a kid. That was the
Yeah.
scariest bit. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the scariest bit in any kids' film for me. That was the one that really got me because they use imagination for most of it, and it was like, put your hand down there. I was just like, no way, I would do that.
And you just see the pulsating leaves.
I know, and plus it's basically the kids' version of the Deer Hunter scene, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that scene needed Christopher Walken just to
Yeah.
put it over into pure traumatizing every child level. Like, why wasn't Christopher Walken Flash Gordon?
That's a very good question.
He was always Han Solo, so why not Flash Gordon?
Yeah, I wish somebody would just redub the whole of the first 3 Star Wars films with Christopher Walken's voice instead of Harrison Ford.
It would have been strange.
Redub it.
Yeah. I always find it kind of weird. That's George Lucas's weird side come out. Like, yeah, that'd be a good idea. Christopher Walken's this character. It's like, but everyone else was saying to him, no,
Yeah.
this is not good.
Yeah, Peter Wingard as Clytus again. I didn't realise he was still alive either. And of course, he didn't want Clytus to die because he just wanted sequels. So it's like, there's a wonderful anecdote about him pretty much stopping the production to go, Clytus shouldn't die.
Yeah, and there was, get on that bloody thing, he's going to die. Of course, it suggests that he didn't die anyway. It suggests somebody's going to come back.
Yes.
It's just, yeah, because I mean, obviously, it was a villain so good, they're going to bring him back in some way. It's like,
he gets so many great one-liners.
I mean, he gets more one-liners than anyone else in the film.
When they're wiping Topple's brain, they see a bit of Hitler, and he's like, he showed promise.
Yeah.
It's just like, is this a kid's film? It's like,
yeah, because he knows exactly what film is. He's having a blast.
Yeah.
And just the whole thing about Sping's daughter and him try. Yeah. He's really into her in a way that's just weird. I mean, it's a power play, but it's also weird because there's other stuff going on there that's
the way he uses her handkerchief at the execution and stuff.
I know every time he's like he's Dennis Hopper in that before Dennis Hopper got into Blue Velvet set. I mean,
it's just so wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, say what you want about Dino De Laurentiis, he produced films with some real top class psychos.
Yeah.
I mean, just villainous weirdness. I mean,
and then
Baron from Dune is this another one. It's like,
exactly. And then, of course, the pièce de résistance is Max von Sydow as Ming, who is just amazing. He's just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. And it's funny to see Max von Sydow ham it up so much because normally does not. Normally he's so dignified. And this one is like, I'm taking I'll have every with my hands. I will do everything.
Yeah. What he does with his hands, his eyes, his eyebrows. He uses his eyebrows. He's like,
I know.
And again, he has some wonderful lines as well.
Clytus on board.
Yeah.
To start with,
just
he's basically God, an evil God, and he's just. And of course, he has the greatest ending for a villain ever, impaled by his own ship.
Yes.
the wedding. I mean, that's like
Yes.
and in the wedding thing, do you promise not to send her into space?
Yes.
Well, not quite yet. And it's like
Yes.
Jesus.
Of course, the minister's Philip Stone, who
I know
was
that's what I was going to
Kubrick
say.
regular. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like everybody in Britain's in this film somewhere.
Yeah.
Uh,
But Ming's costumes are just amazing as well. They're just the production design, as we know, is just stunning.
and you have Deep Roy as the pet of Aurora.
Yeah.
It's called Fellini.
It's just an amazing ensemble cast. You can nitpick about the quality of their acting, but I mean, it's just a really interesting, diverse cast.
Well, one thing is, not one of them cares about not chewing scenery. They're all, yeah, I'll chew the scenery. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'll chew it. The only person who doesn't do it is Timothy Dalton, but he's still doing it subtly. He's just
Yeah.
subtle with it, but he's still doing it. Because he's at a 2 and everyone else is at a 10. But you need someone there who's kind of keeping it going a little bit, keeping it a little bit sane.
Yeah, but like you say, he's still doing an Errol Flynn
I know, he's still
impersonation.
he's
So
still hamming it up. He's just subtly hamming it up rather than. This is one of his 2 great comic book performances, and another one, Rocketeer.
yes,
So I mean, he was when he did comic books, he really did them. He really excelled. The weird thing with Flash Gordon, though, is how just it became embraced as a British, film to be on all the time. Sort of like The Great Escape or something. It was always on. Everyone
yeah,
always watched it, and it's just became that film that everybody's seen like a good 5 or 6 times.
yes, at least.
I mean, it is kind of on. It's being the same year as a Batman TV show in a way because it is camp, because it's the same writer. But you also got the Roger Bond films at the same time, which are kind of campy as well. There was a kind of British mood at the time that was going
Yeah,
in this direction.
I mean, I disagree slightly on the campiness of it. I mean, I think it's a gritty, realistic portrayal of life on Mongo.
Well,
But
okay.
I can see why people might think it's a bit camp.
Yes. It's just Mongo's a bit camp.
Yes, maybe Mongo is just a bit camp.
It was just like a documentary style.
Yes.
Mike Hodges was ready for a Clockwork Orange and he found himself in the midst of Mongo
Yes.
and Fellini designers.
Yeah, I mean, he'd shot Get Carter, so he knew how to shoot gritty stuff, and that's what came through.
Yeah.
But it's just so well paced. I mean, it never stops. It just rattles along. It's like kind of, it's a blueprint for that kind of film, just to make it just keep going one thing after another.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things also is when watching the 4K world of colours, it's amazing how varied the colour schemes are. Like how it always changes slightly, so it's not always the same. Because it's always primary colours throughout or secondary colours, but it's always something going on visually. But
Yeah,
there's always
obviously Arborea is a different palette, and the Sky City with the Hawkmen is a different palette.
yes.
I think there was plans to have more worlds, but obviously for budget reasons, and
Yeah, the Lion Men, which never got to, which probably would have been a sequel.
and there was an underwater world as well.
Yeah, and there was meant to be a finale where Dio turns into a serpent.
Yes.
Fantasy sequence, which
Melody Anderson tells the sad story of sitting in a makeup chair with green paint and wee fangs and never get shot.
Yep. And it sounded weird, but it just sounded like a Nicholas Rogue thing. Like, that obviously came from his draft. That's pure him. That's just those. I mean, if you've seen The Witches, you know that's a Nicholas Rogue thing.
Yes.
And there was meant to be a depressed city as well. It was a very kind of industrialized city as well he went to. But it is paced really well for what is basically like 3 or 4 locations. Because they've only really got the Ming's Palace, you've got the Barons area, you've got the Sky area, plus you've got the big ship floating through the sky.
Yeah.
That's all you really got, apart from the opening in Earth, which takes place about 10 minutes before you get to the fantasy stuff. I mean, there's not much grounded
Bobby
stuff.
Coltrane pops up.
I know. For a whole 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's just But there always varies, so there's always a new area to see. It's always interesting to keep it going. And they've got fights, but they don't keep them going for too long. They keep them interesting.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone probably remembers the fight between Baron and Flash on the Hawkman's city when Hawkman's having his little remote control and cheating.
Yes, and the spikes in the floor, and
Yep, that's great
was a
fun.
scene you always remember as a kid.
As a kid, you're thinking, "Oh my god, how did they do that?" And there are all
Yeah.
these spikes, then you find out they're just rubber.
Yeah.
That's it. They're fine.
I mean, obviously the soundtrack Queen, which
I
was
know.
fairly revolutionary at the time.
Yeah.
Because I think I've now got that on vinyl, CD, and about 2 different versions in Blu-rays. So I think I've got that about 4 times. But
Yeah, and in no way can you call that camp.
no,
No way.
no,
In any possible way. That is also gritty realism.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So it is wonderful watching it. Really gets you going. Because it
Yeah,
is
the
within.
battle on the rocket ship Ajax is wonderful.
Yeah.
The score for that.
Yeah, and I know you've got the ship roaring towards the city with Queen going on with all
Yeah.
these lasers and stuff. It's just wonderful.
One of the
As a
best
kid,
versions of the wedding march.
I know, and just the plus, if you hear Mel Downton about how they spent so much money on her wedding dress, it was just black, and you've never noticed it, but it's just they spent so much time and money on it.
Yeah,
It's
because
just
they had these kind of fleet of old Italian women sewing on sequins in
I
their
know.
thousands to all these dresses.
Yeah, you're thinking, well, those some Dino's ants or something. What the hell was?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, they went mad in the costumes. I mean, if you go to the Ming's original introduction, you've got all these other tribes you never see again who are all fighting each other, and that must have taken. I think it took forever because there was so many people and so much coverage to
Yeah.
do that. It was, and they're all different colours. So even then, when you're a kid, you're hoping to see more of them, and you never see them again. But it still is enough to make you think, "Oh, that's really cool. You've got another world you never get to see."
Yeah. I think you mentioned it before, but the skies,
Yeah,
which certainly in a film we'd never seen that before. The
yeah,
skies are just like these amazing colours.
yeah. Because they're using some of the techniques that they used in 2001 with the oils, but they were doing different things with it and putting it in water and floating and floating. And apparently, there's also they left it for days sometimes, knowing that they let it seep in a little bit, and then doing it in slow motion, you get a different effect. And
Yeah.
it was just wonderful to see because it was just totally unlike anything else. And having
Yeah,
that
that was
casual background,
mind-boggling as a kid as well.
yeah,
How they
because it's
did
just
those skies. Do
yeah.
those skies exist?
I know. It makes you realize why I bombed America to start with, because that's just too weird. That's not stars. It's
Yeah.
skies of. It just the whole thing is so European. It's a
Yeah,
European
absolutely.
producer. It's like there's no way this film could be a success in America because it's just too European, innuendo in every possible way. You get your leading man dubbed, and he's also stripped down for most of the film in some way or another.
Yeah.
And they somehow think a tank top is macho or vest is macho.
Yes.
A highly designed vest with all
Yes.
these flash things on it. You think that's macho, and it's like, this is as Italian as you possibly get.
Yeah, there's nice bits in the extras where we meet a couple of collectors and one of them has the vest and like
I know, and Baron's costume and
yes, and a
you know, all these.
Galactus mask.
I know, and yes, Peter Wingard did seem to be as camp as possible as well. You even see the new interviews, and he's like,
Yes.
yeah, it's like, yeah, but how did anyone ever thought he was heterosexual ever?
Yeah, it's just again, I had no idea he was still alive.
I know it's like people asked. I mean, apparently Matthew Vaughn asked for Peter Wingard for certain films, and he kept being told, "No, he's dead." So even the film industry
Yeah.
thought he was dead because they were asked him to find him for work, and they
Yeah.
never thought he was dead.
Because
That
he
sounds
does
bad.
have just a great voice,
Yeah, he's
which he
dead now
really
though.
had to project
Yeah,
under
he,
that mask.
I know. He is dead now. Confirmed. He's dead.
Yes.
He died. But The But yeah, the voice is great. The voice is so sarcastic and so. It's also we hear that voice thing. Why was it different in a Kubrick film?
Yeah, it's just so droll.
Yeah, I know. It's like I mean, that would be a voice perfect for Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah,
So yeah. So Flash Gordon was a part of everyone's childhood in Britain. In a way that wasn't really. I'm sure other cultures enjoyed it, but I don't think you really get it the same way you get it in Britain or Europe, where
yeah, it did a
that.
lot better in Britain and Europe.
Yeah, I think it's just a certain sensibility that's not really American. It's got its own feel to it, and because it was taking an American story and just giving it a weird, pervy European feel that's
Yeah,
just unique and different and odd.
yeah. Mike Hodges, I think, half jokingly said it was really about American foreign policy.
Yeah, yeah. I think one thing he did say was basically he had a weird mix of Dino taking it entirely serious and him not. He said it probably helped film get that mix it was needed
Yeah,
because it was like you had one party taking it serious, another party not, and then you got the
yeah.
mix that way.
Because again, we should point out, Mike Hodges doesn't really like science fiction. He's not really interested in fantasy cinema, but
He
I
was the
think
perfect guy.
that kind of helped make what Flash Gordon is.
Yeah. And he also made Terminal Man, which was also a science fiction movie. So
Yeah.
and he's done Black Rainbow, which is a science fiction horror thriller. So
Yeah.
he's done quite a few of them, despite his not being interested in them.
I think he just doesn't like Star Wars.
Yeah, well, you don't like Star Wars and you love this film.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said that Flash Gordon is way better than Star Wars. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely adored Star Wars as a kid. I've still got action figures all these years later, but
And
I
he
just
still
think
plays with them.
I still play with them. Obviously, Christopher Walken as Han Solo. But I just think his films, they haven't aged quite as well as Flash Gordon has. But
I
that's
think
just,
they've aged differently, really.
yeah,
I still have an affection for them. Yeah, but I think some of these latest sequels have done damage
yeah.
to Star Wars. These Disney ones they haven't
I mean,
helped.
you should say there was plans to do a Flash Gordon sequel or a trilogy, but in
Yeah,
some ways it's kind of better that they didn't. So we just have this one
yeah,
perfect film in a capsule
yeah. I
rather
mean,
than,
I think if Dino and Sam Jones hadn't fallen out, you probably have a chance.
yeah,
Really, because you can't, and you shouldn't really replace your lead man in the second sequel. I think they needed. I think if they'd managed to mend their ways, I think the film probably did well enough to get a sequel somehow. But probably just. I also think with Flash Gordon, it became popular years later. It became popular
yeah.
mid-80s rather than at its release. When it was released, it was thought of as a bit weird.
Well, as I can't remember who it is that actually says it in one of the documentaries, but certainly in America, it just wasn't available for years on home video or home DVD. It was kind of forgotten about.
Yeah, it is a strange situation, but it works fine. I mean, it's a perfect film for what it is, and as I said, it's something better to have a one off. It's just
Yeah,
sometimes it's better to have something that just it can only happen once, and that was it. You know, rather than having a terrible sequel you hate and tainting the original for you.
I mean, perhaps because it didn't do that well in America, I'm actually surprised it has been rebooted because I know there was a TV show, but I'm surprised it has actually been rebooted considering they reboot everything.
Apparently, Taika Waititi's doing something with it at some
Right.
point. They were trying to do it for a couple of years and different people on it, but never
Yeah.
went anywhere. But apparently, after Disney bought Fox, Fox had the rights to it. So now they've given it to someone who's a big Flash Gordon fan of the old movie. So hopefully
Yes.
that'll lead to something. But who knows? I mean, it would never be. Even if you do a reboot, you never do the way they did it. This
No.
one, you never really want them to do it. They just
No,
leave it
because the
alone.
problem is they might try and do it the way the original, and it just wouldn't work because they're trying to do that
I
rather
know,
than
just being it.
yeah.
because that was a circumstance of a lot of weird people getting together
Yeah.
who shouldn't have been together, who made
Yes.
this film. It's like everything should not have worked, but it worked.
Yeah.
Really, it should have been a dog's breakfast of a film, but it actually worked.
Because
I
there's
mean,
nothing worse than people trying to make a cult film or trying
yeah,
to make a film that's. So to sum up, Flash Gordon's excellent.
and if you don't like it, you're sad. Really,
Yeah,
that's it. You're
there's
just
something wrong. It's joyous. It'll put a
yeah,
smile on your face, and that's pretty important these days.
yep. I mean, okay, I'll just say it. If you dislike Flash Gordon, you're worse than a Trump supporter.
Oof,
How's that for?
that's fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair one. I mean, it's
Because
like
even if you don't like Flash Gordon, it's Max von Sydow, for goodness sake, as the Emperor of the Universe.
Brian
Can't
Blessed
get much better than that.
with wings.
Yeah, Brian Blessed with wings, giving a subtle, moving performance as an introvert.
A future James Bond playing Errol Flynn.
Yep.
One of the greatest sidekick villains ever in Clytus. One
Yep.
of the most perverse princesses ever. A
Yep.
character who should be put in a Disney princess film.
Yes. The first
That
18
would you really
certificate
see.
Disney film.
What?
The first 18 certificate Disney film about a princess.
Yeah. If that. Probably banned film. A film only Paul Verhoeven could really direct.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, that's Flash Gordon is amazing. Well, we're now going to talk about films we watched as a kid. Generally, because Flash Gordon is something that both our childhoods, influenced both our childhoods, but there's also lots of other films that influence our childhoods.
Yeah, that we still watch now and still stand up.
Yeah. Or some of them don't stand up, we still watch them anyway, because
Yeah.
we've
Or biased.
we've already discussed Star Wars. I don't need to go back to Star Wars. We've already talked about Star Wars.
Oh.
Really. I don't think there's much more to say, is there?
Oh, well, we start just with Ray Harryhausen films, and that's one big umbrella rather than individual titles.
Yes. Harryhausen films, if you've been watching this, you'll know that we've both bought the Harryhausen indicators. We're both like,
Yeah, and you've done videos on Harryhausen.
did I inspire you to buy some of those?
Oh, I think I already pre-ordered them.
Or
That's
somebody
an
had got,
indicator.
oh no. I'm just there was somebody I got to buy some of them. I thought it was you, it might be someone else. Someone bought them because I started talking about them.
Because the thing is, I suppose
Parker.
for younger generation, they might watch Harryhausen films and kind of go, okay, what's the big deal? But as a child, Harryhausen showed us worlds and showed us things that were beyond our imagination. And there's a charm, there's a realism, even though they're not realistic, but they're physically there. These creatures that he just took days to create. And it's just, they were jaw-dropping and they're still...
They still work for kids though, because I showed my nephew them.
Yeah.
Sinbad stuff, and he thought it was great. I mean, he didn't have any cynicism about it. It was just like, oh, these are cool monsters. Just he loved them.
And perhaps
yeah,
for
they're films.
jaded older children.
Yeah, but I think even then they would enjoy them if they were trying. The thing is, they're cool films. They're still cool films. Yeah. They're funny. I mean, Tom Baker as a villain in the second Sinbad film is awesome. He's just so cool as a villain. Yeah. Jason Argonauts is full of really great characters.
Patrick Troughton, another Doctor Who reference.
Patrick Troughton was in two different ones. He was also in the final Sinbad film.
Yep.
Which was probably the weakest of Sinbads, but still enjoyable.
Eye the Tiger with Big Minotaur.
Yep. You've also got some of the Greek legend or Arabian legend films. You've got like From the Earth to the Moon, or was it
First Man in the Moon?
First Man in the Moon. Yep. It's First Man in the Moon, not on the Moon, which is a funny thing you always remember.
Yeah.
Because you always get it wrong and realize, oops, that's Fantastic Island, which is wonderful. I actually watched that my PSVR thing, and I said it screened really, and the bit with the giant crab looked amazing. The whole thing looks amazing because You tell it was old-fashioned techniques, but it looked gorgeous, and the Nautilus and Herbert Lom as Captain
Yeah.
Nemo. The most underrated Captain Nemo for me.
And the
I mean,
Three Worlds of Gulliver, which I'm not even sure I saw that as a kid, which is in the
I never.
Indicator box set.
Yeah, it's a really good film. It's
Yeah.
really well made. It's probably the best Gulliver film, really.
Yeah.
And it's just like so many good films. There's the Valley Guanji, which
Yeah, I mean, as a mashup, that's awesome. I mean, cowboys versus dinosaurs, come on.
yeah. Well,
How
what
can
film
you
was
not
that?
like that?
I was watching a film and then you were saying Valley Guanji's better. Can't remember
I
what it
think
was
it was,
last week.
was it King Kong you mentioned?
Oh yeah, I played King Kong in the radio show, and you said
Yeah.
Valley Guanji's better.
No, I just said I prefer Valley the Guanji.
I think you said it was better. I think you said it was better.
I would never say something's better than something else.
They pretty much implied it was. It was
Cowboys and dinosaurs, James
yeah,
Franciscus,
yeah. It's
tiny little horse.
it's an excellent film. That was my first film of the year. One year, a few years ago. I always have one. I tried to start the year with a good film. It could be
Yeah,
something like 2001. It could be Sunrise, or it could be a Hammer film. But
yeah.
that year was Valley Guanji. I always like trying to watch a film that I know I'm going to enjoy to start the year off.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those Sunday afternoon films you would see on the television.
Yep. And it's just one the Harryhausen stuff. People grew up on it. And plus, some of his earlier ones, like the monster movies and the sci-fi stuff, were all wonderful. You've
Yeah,
got the
Beasts from
creatures.
20,000 Fathoms, or
Yeah, the kind of giant octopus with only
yeah.
uh, six tentacles rather than eight because they couldn't afford eight.
Yes.
Yeah, they're always wonderful. I mean, we all kind of a certain generation watched them religiously,
Yeah.
and just they were just the best. They were just the most wonderful things ever.
And they
And
inspired a whole generation of filmmakers of a certain age, like the
yeah,
Joe
who made
Dantes and the John Landises, and
Spielberg and the Lucases as well. They
yeah,
were into them. Yeah, I mean, if you watch some John Landis films or Joe Dante films, you can tell they adore Harryhausen. You know, they're just really into them. But yeah, I mean, those films are astonishing. I mean, the only thing is when you do videos on Harryhausen, no one ever watches them. It's like, why? I did
yeah.
one and nobody watched it, and it was like, I thought somebody would watch this one. This is a genius guy I'm talking about. But
Yeah, I mean, the amount of work that went into it, because he pretty much would direct the scenes with his creatures and how to get the actors to match what was going on. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
I know it's really amazing. I shall also say, if we move on now, because Harryhausen's a subject on his own almost, we
Yeah.
need to kind of move on a little bit. Even though I was a Star Wars kid, I was also a Battlestar Galactica kid, the TV version of Star Wars, basically, as it was known.
Yes.
I was a big fan of that. And I was a big fan of the remake, which is a very different TV show.
Yeah.
But I adored the original. I have the original on Blu-ray, and I have no shame. I'm good with that.
I don't have it in Blu-ray, but the episode that I always remember is it Food of the Gods or something? Ray Milland.
That's the first. That's the pilot.
Is that the pilot? But
Yeah,
the one
but-
where they find this group of people who get fed up and end up being food for insects.
Yeah,
That always stuck with me for the last 35 years.
yeah. I watched them all. I mean, there's all this weird stuff in them about the pyramids and all these other stuff, and you've got Cylon cities, and you've got all these weird celestial creatures. I adore Battlestar Galactica. It's not the best show. I'll admit it. It's not.
Yeah.
I just have an affection for it, which I feel no guilt for.
Well, two TV shows that I adored was Monkey and The Water Margins of Yang Po, which were always on BBC Two, I believe, at tea time.
I never saw the Water Margins, but I was a big fan of Monkey.
Monkey was just wonderful. I mean, it's still getting made in various forms. I think I've got the Monkey King 3 on Blu-ray, which is a lot of fun. Not 1 and 2. It was just, again, it was redubbed.
Yeah, a monkey flying the cloud.
Yeah.
I remember. The thing is,
The nature of Monkey is irrepressible.
yeah, the thing is, I remember that wondering because I saw it as a kid, but then when I was growing up, I was thinking, did I dream that or was that real? It was like weird. It's like such a
Because I
strange.
remember I actually got my dad to make a staff with like yellow tape in either end, and it was essentially just a black stick. Strange I couldn't make it bigger or smaller, but
Yep, yep. Make that sticker. You don't love me. Is that
yeah,
right? Yeah.
like if only we could summon a cloud to take us places, that would be a dream come true.
Yep. I was also on being a TV. I was also a big Doctor Who fan on the 70s and early 80s. I was really pretty much Tom Baker, era Tom Baker to Peter Davis and Colin Baker. Then it kind of fell away. But that era, and then I went back and watched them all. The stuff I missed when I wasn't even born, like the Patrick Troughton stuff and the John Pertwee stuff, and the early Tom
Yeah.
Baker stuff. I've watched most of them now, but
Yeah, it's weird because I was kind of into it all the way up to Sylvester McCoy, and then I've never been back. Never really watched the new stuff, or
yeah,
I think I've just grown out of it. But
yeah, I
watched that.
I went back.
Yeah.
Even though I was a big World Cinema fan, I still went back to Doctor Who when it came back.
I mean, I think people have to remember in Britain at one point there only was 3 channels, so we were used to like 3 channels long before Channel 4, Channel 5, and then cable. So sometimes the things you would watch, you look back now and it's like, did I really watch that?
Yeah, but there's also stuff we watched that was great. I mean, Doctor Who, the thing with Doctor Who is they had good periods and bad periods. There's some stuff, times when they had good people in charge of it and would make some really good shows. Then they had other periods where they had less than good people in charge of it and they would make some pretty dodgy shows.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of choose. I could bore you quite easily telling you what era's good, what era's not so good, and I can give you individual stories which are good, and you really don't want that. You don't want to get me started in that.
That's a special episode for yourself.
Yes, that's yeah, pretty much. I could pretty much run down. I've already talked about Doctor Who and Blu-ray before, so just say I'm a big fan of Doctor Who.
Yes.
Even the new stuff. But I also watched Batman on TV. West Batman, which was you can't really not mention when talking about Flash Gordon.
No.
Lorenzo Semple Jr. wrote both.
Yes.
And Batman was wonderful. Because as a kid, you genuinely thought it was serious.
Of course.
And as an adult, you're thinking, how did I ever thought that anything else was serious? It's so wonderfully camp and weird.
Cesar Romero as the Joker is just wonderful.
Yeah, and Burgess Meredith is the Penguin.
Yeah.
I remember one episode we ran for mayor as the Penguin.
Yes.
And then they used that plot again in the Tim Burton film. It's like they liked that plot so much they used it. And it was just like, it's just one. Batman is just wonderful. It's definitely one I need to do a video on at some point, an actual video of Batman, a TV show. I need to rewatch them. I have the Blu-rays.
I haven't got around to buying it, but I will eventually.
I've got an Italian one, an Italian Blu-ray, which is because it was cheap at the time, and I had no shame. I just bought the Italian Blu-ray.
Fair enough.
So other TV shows I've got noted down from my childhood, before back to the films, as I'm looking at here. I've lost my train here. There was one somewhere. Star Trek, the original Star Trek, the first 2 films. I watched them a lot as a kid, and those are the only ones I've got left. Like the only ones I've bought in Blu-ray or DVD or anything. I don't really watch Star Trek beyond the original.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest,
ones.
The original ones are my favourite, even though yes, they've got flaws. But I think once it started taking itself so seriously, I kind of lost interest in it.
Yeah, me too.
But those ones are a lot of fun and really good stories, really interesting stories a lot of the time, and influential, but also a lot of fun.
Yeah, I got halfway through the first season of First Generation, I gave up, and I went back to the originals, and I was like, that was it. I'm fine with them. I don't need anything else.
They got too serious, and they got into politics, and it's just like, it's not really what my memories of Star Trek was.
Star Trek may be fun. It might be enjoyable. The stories are more interesting in the old show, and the characters were better. And it was, I remember when I had to go to church, and remember having to Star Trek would be on when I get back. So that was the thing I looked forward to, was try to suffer through church.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, we get out of here, we walk back home, Star Trek's starting. That'll make up for this.
And the animated series was good fun as well.
Yeah, I've got them. I haven't watched them yet. I need to be watched. I really need to watch them. I remember seeing them as a kid, but I haven't rewatched them since.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the other thing I remember watching, what the hell? Well, yeah, I remember watching Looney Tunes on the TV a lot as a kid.
Yes.
Looney Tunes was kind of my big thing. Like Daffy Duck especially. I was a big Daffy Duck fan. That was. So what else did you watch on TV like as a kid?
I think it was mainly just cartoons. Obviously, stuff like Dungeons and Dragons, which I have the box set of, even though they never actually finished it properly because it got cancelled. So the kids never got home, which I kind of like. Obviously, the big reveal that Venger was actually Dungeon Master's son, very Star Wars.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of fun, and I did always like the fact that they never got home. It's kind of a fitting metaphor for life itself.
Yes.
But the cartoon shows back then were just a lot better.
Yeah.
Battle of the Planets.
Oh yeah, Battle of the Planets was good. From Japan, so they added little bits and redubbed them all and created this weird.
Ulysses.
Oh yeah, Ulysses.
That was awesome with an amazing soundtrack.
Did it ever end? Ulysses, did you ever get home in Ulysses?
No, that was another one they never got home.
Yeah.
Was that a French series?
I think it was. It was. Maybe they did, but we never saw the episode. Maybe they never came over here.
It was really good animation and just great stories, obviously based on the mythology.
Did you ever watch D'Artagnan and Musket Hounds?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wasn't a huge fan of it, but I still watched it religiously.
Yeah, I know. Because I was a big fan of the Musketeer films, I watched this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just so many.
Do you ever remember Jason the Wheeled Warriors?
Not sure. Don't think so.
Big planet. There's all these plants, crazy plants, these guys in bikes. It was really weird.
Don't think I remember that one.
Yeah. I get showed in England more than here, because I remember seeing it when I was in England visiting people.
Yeah.
So maybe it was just ever in England. But do you remember Sport Billy?
Nope.
No? All right, well. That's... Okay, did you ever watch V? TV
Yes.
show V?
Yes.
Yes. Well, it's not animated, but I remember finding that terrifying. Remember the little baby, the green baby?
Yes.
I remember watching that and absolutely terrified. And you see it now and it's like, that's so pathetic looking. It's such a terrible special effect. But at the time, imagination was so much that it was like...
Yeah, again, we'll maybe get to that when we mention some of the films, but certainly some things perhaps haven't aged or frightened you the same way as you do when you were a kid.
Yeah. No, I remember V terrifying. Obviously, there was a metaphor for fascism there.
Yeah.
But I was really into it for Michael Ironside as Ham Tyler.
Yes.
Because he was a total bastard, and I quite enjoyed that. So we'll go back to films then, since I've covered my the TV stuff. Because as a kid, you watched a lot of TV, probably more than you'd ever remember. But it was kind of important to you, even though you never. I'm sure some of them, a lot of it which kind of went away in the background somewhere in your head.
Yeah, there's always ones that stick with you, though.
Yep. So the films that terrified you as a child.
Well, some of the Hammers, which I probably shouldn't be watching as a child, but certainly The Beast Must Die, which I'm so happy that Indicator released because it's a brilliant release. That terrified me as a child. Again, I probably saw it too early, but the Charles Gray death, even though we don't see it, just the aftermath. Anton Diffring's death really kind of freaked me out as a kid. Obviously,
a film which you have never talked about.
No, actually, I've never mentioned it before. But obviously, as an adult, I love it for different reasons, but it's certainly not scary. But I remember as a child being absolutely terrified after watching it.
Yep. So yeah, I didn't really get into Hammer's Tale as a teenager, really. So I don't class them as childhood films because I
Yeah.
was in my teens before I really started watching those ones. So I was probably just a coward. What one of the
Perhaps.
weird one of the weird things was I remember from childhood from the playground, right? Was I remember I've seen the comic books used to the cover of Alien on the back of it, and everybody in school was trying to work out what was this film Alien because we were
Yeah.
only like 5 or 6, and there's no way we could take it really. But it's just this cover on the back of a comic, which I don't know why they advertised Alien in the comics, a Batman comic. We're always trying to work out what the hell is this Alien? What's this?
Yeah.
It took up such a big part of our imagination. We finally saw the film. It was like, oh, it's a monster movie. That's it.
Yeah.
It was never quite as big as what we had in our heads.
Yeah, I
Really.
mean, Alien and The Thing were films that I wasn't allowed to watch for a long, long time.
Yeah. I wasn't either. I didn't see Alien until years later, but it was just the imagery of this poster of that egg.
Yeah.
And he just was like, you saw a couple of images of the Geiger stuff, and you just the imagination going as a kid, and it was like, you can never live up to what you'd imagined as a child,
No,
really.
because again, it was images or your imagination of what something would be like that would
Yep.
generally scare you perhaps more than the actual film.
Yep. Another film which I've just did a video on, which I'm sure you'd appreciate. I remember watching a lot as a child, is Battle Beyond the Stars.
Yes, that was a lot of fun.
Yep.
That was a lot of fun before I knew who Roger Corman was and who John Sayles was, and
Yeah. So even here we managed to put in John Steele's
of
reference.
course, got
Yep.
to keep pumping him into the zeitgeist.
Yep. So yeah, I remember watching that a lot. Because especially when you
Yeah,
turned, because George Papard at the time was in the A Team, and he was in
of
this
course.
film, and it was like that made you want to watch it. Then you realize, oh, it's a good film. It's really fun.
And obviously, Sybil Danning had quite an effect on young
Yes,
boys.
yeah. It was the film you saw before you saw the Seven Samurai.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It's like that was a long time before Seven Samurai.
Yeah, and it was kind of a remake of Magnificent Seven more than Seven Samurai. But I've got to say, after Seven Samurai, that's my favorite version of the film of that story.
Yeah, no doubt.
Battle Beyond the Stars is way more fun than Magnificent Seven.
Yeah.
You know, and I watched it last week, and it is still very enjoyable
Yes.
because you find out that after all the special effects, that they actually use the episodic nature to have all these weird character actors have a little bit, then they move on, and it's like it's
Yeah.
really a lot of fun. It's really a good way to do a sci-fi movie. Is hire
Yeah.
actors and let them run for a scene or two, and then kill them off and go into the next one.
Yeah.
So I've got one that scared the hell out of me as a kid. I didn't see the film. I just saw clips from it, which was Life Force.
Yeah, I didn't see that until later.
I didn't either, but no, I haven't seen clips of it on the TV and
Yeah.
it was released, and it scared the hell out of me. And then you see it later and it's funny and it's not scary at all. But as an imagination of a child, it was like, this is the most super scary film ever.
Back to television briefly. Remember the quiz show, the film quiz show for kids? I can't remember what it was called. It was in BBC. I cannot remember what it's called, but I remember they showed a clip from Alien, and it's the clip where Dallas gets it. So the alien like jumps out, and they're like showing that in kids' television as a question. It's like I always remember that.
Yeah,
I think
that
I
is.
spilled my tea
Yeah. Oh,
because it just came like out from nowhere, and it's like, should you really be showing Alien on like a kids' quiz show? It's like,
I remember I used to watch the Barry Norman show, the film 90 or film 80, all the time when I was probably way too young to be watching some of the scenes from it.
yeah.
And some of the stuff they showed terrified me. But I
Screen
still watched it.
Test. I think it was called Screen Test.
Yeah. But also just clips of, I remember Life Force just thinking, that's the most terrifying thing ever. And then you see it later and it's like, it's really not.
It is the most terrifying thing, but for different reasons.
And the most wonderful thing. And in which one way.
Yes.
It's full of things that don't quite work, but they work in a weird way. Kind of like Flash Gordon, but not quite as good.
No.
But it's still kind of wonderful. But yeah, that one, I did note that down as like something that terrified me as Life Force. It just was like, just scary.
Yes.
As soon as we mentioned Dog Tine, I did watch the Musketeer films all the time as a kid. The Richard Lester ones, I just watched them forever.
Yeah, because they were on the television a lot.
I know.
And again, it would be years before I knew anything about films or who directed it or what director does.
Yeah, but I remember also seeing Juggernaut all the time on TV. I was probably too young to watch it, but it was always on TV, so I was always watching it all the time. You didn't get half the references until later, but it was like just cool. A
And
bomb in a boat.
North Sea Hijack, that was on all
Oh
the time.
yeah. Roger Moore was in a lot of films that was shown in the afternoons.
Gold.
Gold. Yep. Wild Geese. Richard Burton.
Yeah.
That one. That's probably the first time I ever saw Richard Burton in anything. Really?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not the biggest Bond fan in the world, but obviously Bond films in Britain were on constantly. They still are. It's like,
Yeah.
But they were always on.
Yeah, but at that point it was Roger Moore Bond films and Sean Connery ones, and they kind of Roger Moore campiness.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a lot of those films in the cinema, like the For Your Eyes Only and
Saw
Octopus.
Moonraker in the cinema.
I think I did, but I can't quite remember. It's one of those ones I have a vague memory of. I'm pretty sure I saw it in the cinema, but it might have been TV, but I can't quite place it. But
Yeah, I saw Moonraker in Air, I believe.
bloody show off.
I can remember it. It was
Quite a strange film.
Yeah, it's not a memorable film, but
It's strange, definitely strange.
it's strange. Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of those films you're never quite sure. Did I see them in the cinema? Did I not see them in the cinema? One of the first ones I remember seeing in the cinema was Superman 2. I remember seeing that in the cinema. I was
Right.
loving that. I've got a lot of affection for that one because I remember seeing that. I mean, there's other films I saw before that, but no, you're never quite sure where you saw them. But that one I remember actually going to see.
Yeah.
For definite. So, I mean, the first three Superman films as a kid, they were big for me.
And obviously, you mentioned it before, but I mean, The Great Escape and The Wizard of Oz were constantly on British television, like all the time.
I know when The Wizard of Oz, I've actually started to appreciate it again after years of not watching it because I was so sick of watching it as a kid.
Yeah, because it was on all the time.
I know. It's kind of funny to actually see these films again. And I remember taping Clash of Titans off the TV and seeing that a lot.
Yes.
That was obviously a Lee Harryhausen. But the thing you got to remember of watching this is we could start videotaping stuff at a certain point.
Yes.
And you started taping a lot of stuff from the TV. I remember tapes and tapes of stuff that was just probably insanity. You actually trying to look at what's he got in these. This is crazy.
I suppose the land that time forgot, the people that time forgot, Warlords of Atlantis.
Oh yes, the Doug McClure
as well.
Yeah, I just remember we have a generation who thought Doug McClure was cool.
Yes, Doug McClure was leading man material.
Yep. There was also The Black Hole.
Ah, The Black Hole.
Which is which I now actually have on Amazon streaming. I bought it a year or two ago and I rewatched it, and it hasn't held up, but still the effects are still quite nice to see, old-fashioned effects. But
Anthony
it's funny.
Perkins and Maximilian Schell.
And Robert Forster, and it's like it's a great cast, and there's no script.
Yes.
So it's quite wonderful. There'll be great effects, a great cast, no script. It's kind of like Tron. It's also the same thing. Is that the script that's terrible, but the visuals are really fun.
I do actually have the action figure of the big bad robot whose name escapes me at the moment.
Yeah, I remember seeing a friend who had the model of the actual big ship. I remember thinking that was a cool ship. That's the coolest thing in the film is that ship. The ship is amazing because it's pretty much basically Captain Nemo and the Nautilus.
Yeah,
really.
In space.
Yeah. But do you ever remember watching Star Crash?
Yes. Again, that had an effect on me for different reasons.
Yeah. I haven't rewatched it yet. I mean to rewatch it because it's on Amazon streaming now and Amazon Prime. But I remember loving that as a kid, and it's like, and then people looking at it as if, are you stupid? This is really bad.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to age well.
No. I've kind of ready to watch it because I've got a memory of it, and it's kind of like I know it's not that memory. I know my memory of it is different from what it actually is,
Yes.
and so that was like a. 'Cause there are some films you watched on TV as a kid that was not so good.
Oh,
Let's just say they weren't well crafted.
but they have
Also,
a charm.
yes. I also remember watching Explorers on TV because
Yeah.
it died a death in cinema and it came out on TV pretty quick. And that's a very fun, eccentric film with Joe Dante. And
Flight of the
it's,
Navigator and The Last Starfighter.
yep. You've also got, I remember watching King Kong a lot as a kid, the actual original on TV. Because he used to show that a lot.
Yeah.
And one of the funniest things when I was a kid was my dog, Sandy. She was a bit of a coward, real coward. And there's a bit when all the monsters started running at the TV.
Yeah.
She was a pup at the time and she just saw that and ran like hell. She thought it was real.
Fair enough.
It was just so funny.
That was before VR.
Yeah, a puppy VR. I also remember watching the Tarzan film, Johnny Weissmuller.
Yeah, they were on all the time as well.
Yeah, I just loved them.
Cheetah, chimpanzee.
Yeah, yeah. I've also I actually bought them in DVD, the Weissmuller ones years ago, and they have not aged well. There's a couple of good early ones, but then they get dragged pretty quickly, and it's like, okay, these are repeating the plots pretty brutally. But I was curious, so I couldn't really resist trying. And then it was like, oh, this was not the best idea. Apart from the first couple of them. But I mean, there were other films, Disney films like Pinocchio, Snow White, Dumbo.
Yeah, I was going to mention obviously the Jungle Book, which I love, despite the fact Mowgli doesn't get disemboweled at the end.
That's
Pinocchio
such a strange, such a strange
was
sentence.
really dark. When the boys in Pinocchio get turned into donkeys, I found that quite disturbing as a kid. It's still quite disturbing.
Yeah, I know. It's like I watched all those classics a couple of years ago. And they held up really well. They're really well made films.
I always had a soft spot for The Fox and the Hound, which is generally overlooked. I saw that in the cinema.
Yes, so did I. I saw that in the cinema at school.
Again, that gets quite dark as well at the end.
Yeah.
And Fantasia.
I had a soft spot for the Robin Hood one, the one with the foxes.
Yeah, that was good as well.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Pinocchio scared the hell out of me as a kid, though. Pinocchio was...
Yeah.
That's dark. That's really dark. You know, because it's so much fun and it goes dark pretty quick, it just switches back and forward.
Yeah.
A way you should not really used to as a kid.
I always remember the boys getting turned into donkeys really being disturbing.
Yeah. Also, Dumbo, which some people... I like Dumbo, but a lot of people found it scary. I remember I showed it to my nephew when he was young, and the Elephants on Parade thing freaked him out. Just like, he just stopped. He was like, no, I'm not watching this.
That's a great scene.
I know, but the thing is, if you're a kid, it really freaks you out.
Yeah.
Some kids out, and my nephew, he was freaked. He was very freaked.
If he wants to be scared, he should watch the live-action Tim Burton one. For different reasons.
I don't mind that one. I took my niece to see that one in cinema. She enjoyed it. Compared to the Lion King remake and the Aladdin remake, that's not bad, that one.
I haven't seen those ones.
Trust me, Dumbo's better. I remember watching Dune a lot as a kid.
Sorry?
Dune. Dune. It was always on as well. It was kind of always strange, but always kind of interesting. Just weird.
Yeah, you knew something was there, but you couldn't quite understand what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of know why David Lynch doesn't like it, but you also know why everyone loves it. There's a lot of stuff to love about it, but also you can tell why the director didn't like it. Because it isn't really a finished film. It's kind of an abandoned film, really.
Yeah. I would also mention The Muppets.
Oh, yes.
Especially Treasure Island, I've got a soft spot for, probably for Tim Curry, and some great songs.
Yeah.
Also, Labyrinth. I've always loved Labyrinth despite its flaws, but again, I think I saw that in the cinema.
Return to Oz. It's
Yeah,
wonderful.
Return to Oz, I really need to get on Blu-ray because it's really quite dark.
Yeah, it's very dark. I saw that in the cinema. It's really dark in cinema, but it's wonderful effects for the claymation and all that stuff.
Yeah, a
It's
young
wonderful.
Fruzia Bulk.
Yep. And speaking of scary, there's also Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom. I can count them as separate from the other ones because these I saw as a kid.
Yeah, I saw both of them in the cinema, I think. Yeah, I did. I distinctly remember the start of Raiders of the Lost Ark and Alfred Molina's demise being quite, and obviously
Yeah,
the face melting at the end was
yeah,
quite disturbing as a
it's,
child.
yeah. It's pretty dark, and Temple of Doom is really dark. That's the one that got everyone scared,
Yes,
ripping hearts out and stuff. Is it's perfect for a child.
yes.
Yep. It's the
Kate Capshaw screaming for 90% of the film.
yeah. Which I heard Spielberg thought was funny, and then everyone complained about it, and it was like,
Yes,
oh. I used to get a sick kick out of it, and then suddenly it was the rest of the world said, "That's a bit weird."
yes.
Oh, is it? Okay.
But
Yeah,
they are
that's
fun films.
yeah. I mean, I can count them as far higher than the other two. I think after, I feel they were made from instinct, and the other two were tried to be forced into existence in a way.
Yeah,
I think they're more mechanical, the other two.
they're
But
still talking about a fifth one, are they not?
yeah, but I hope it's just talk now. I think it's kind of case of just don't do it now. Just it's too
Yeah.
late. It's been done. So yeah. Any more children's stuff you've noted down?
Um, it's probably a little bit older, but I remember seeing Jackie Chan films and especially Mr. Vampire, which has just got a Eureka release. I mean,
Yes.
Mr. Vampire and a Chinese Ghost Story. I think I was probably a teenager rather than a kid, but they had quite an effect on me.
Yeah, I only have seen Mr. Vampire a few weeks ago. It was a lot of fun though. I'm amazed I
Yeah.
never saw it before
Oh,
because it's so much more my kind of movie. It's like I was kind of stunned that I hadn't seen it.
yeah.
Um,
Again, when BBC Two was good, they used to have seasons on, especially at Christmas. I remember, and they'd have like seasons with directors on late at night.
yeah, I haven't seen Chinese Ghost Story yet, but it's on Amazon streaming on the Prime thing just now.
Yeah,
So
I've
I've
got
got it on my watch list.
the Nova Media
Of course, you have.
trilogy box set.
Bloody show off.
Yeah, the prints are really nice.
Yeah,
They're fun. They're fun and daft.
yeah. I mean, I'm very tempted to get Mr. Vampire and Blu-ray now since I've watched it and I got it in DVD
Yeah,
and cheap. So now I'm now very tempted to buy the Blu-ray when I can afford it. But it's
yeah. I've got the Nova Media release of that, but I'm tempted to double dip, but I shouldn't.
yeah, the Zoo Warriors coming out as well.
Yeah,
I haven't seen, but I just like the poster of it and the new cover. It's like it's not wrong. I just want to buy it because I like the new poster.
yeah. That's a good one as well. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but yeah, I never saw most many of those films as a kid, so it's one of those blind spots.
Yeah,
But there's also like weird like kung fu movies from the 80s I watched, like No Retreat, No Surrender, which I've now bought as you know, I've now bought them in DVD.
yes,
Coming soon to my channel.
yes. The things you do for your channel.
And I also remember watching American Ninja films as well. Just a lot of canon trash or canon ripoff. It's just like yeah, well actually the channel's just an excuse to rewatch them, ultimately.
Yes,
I mean I can't blame a channel for my bad taste
yes.
or my curiosity of what I watched as a child. It's just an example, really, of my dubious you know, taste.
But it shows you how good the creators were of these films and TV shows 40 years ago or 30 years ago, because a lot of them still stand up. And even if they're not perfect, they still have. There's a charm.
Yeah. I mean, there was a few that I never got into. I couldn't get into. I could never get into Space 1999. I tried, but it was just
No,
too
I think I
dull.
watched it, but I was never really a big fan of it, and I've
Yeah.
never.
Yeah, no, it's just it never really did much for me. I just thought the characters were so dull and boring. It was just like I just could not get into it. I tried, I honestly tried, but never did much. There was no Flash Gordon.
No.
There was no Buck Rogers even.
Oh yeah, we didn't even mention Buck Rogers.
I just realised that as I was
Buck
talking.
Rogers is. I had the DVD box set, and I've now got the Blu-ray box set.
I've got them in DVD and I went to Blu-ray for that one. I went to Blu-ray for Battlestar Galactica, but I didn't go Blu-ray for Buck Rogers.
Yeah, Buck Rogers was wonderful.
With the Hawkman in the second season. And the changing voice of Tweaky.
Yes. And the ridiculously tight outfits.
I know, but that's... And none of this is a criticism, by the way. That's just the enjoyment of the weirdness of Buck Rogers.
That's just what happens in the future. The clothes get tighter.
And he never got back home either to the 20th century. He was always the 25th century.
Yeah.
And they were trying to find... They were ripping off the Battlestar Galactica idea of... So they try to find us, or try to find the lost generations of Earth people who left after the apocalypse. They never found them either, so...
Nope.
But at least in the new version of Battlestar, they found Earth.
Yes.
Eventually. You know. So at least one time they found something.
Yes.
Once.
1 out of the 20 series they've actually ended.
That was a remake.
Yes.
They had to remake it to actually find anything. Yep. So I think I don't think there's much more we can really say about this subject here. I think we've covered it. I don't want to drag it on.
Hopefully that's piqued your interest to go and search some of these out if you haven't seen them before.
Yeah. And watch Monkey, watch Battlestar Galactica, because I'm just trying to plug that one. Watch Buck Rogers.
Yes.
Watch all the films we've talked about. Watch Star Crash. And for God's sake, watch Battle Beyond the Stars.
Yes. That certainly deserves to be more loved and more exposed.
But most of all, we have to say watch Flash Gordon.
Of course, if you've never seen Flash Gordon, and I know there's people out there that haven't,
you weirdos,
correct that immediately.
Yes. You will have a whale of a time. Yes. You will have a whale of a time, and you'll instantly want to buy the soundtrack, and you'll instantly want to watch it 3 or 4 times, unless you're strange.
Yes. You'll instantly want to call all your kids Flash.
Yes. Or Dale. Or Voltan.
Or if you're weird.
Yeah. Or Baron.
Yes.
It's really interesting to see at school.
Or you'll call your dogs or cats Voltan.
Yeah. Or you call your child Clytus and say, "You shall be evil." Yes. You shall be. So I hope you enjoyed this. We'll be back soon with another Bergman double bill.
Yes, just to balance it out.
Ronan has watched when I haven't yet, so the person keeping that one back is me.
That's fine.
But I will be watching them soon. And we'll also have a little response to one of Ronan's videos, because I'll be watching the films for the next one as well. So that'll be interesting. Because Ronan made disparaging remarks about one of my favourite films of all time.
I didn't make disparaging remarks. I just said I preferred one over another.
Yeah, you suggested it wasn't perfect. To me, kind of disparaging.
Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, that'll be fun anyway when we get around to that. We'll have a fun conversation with that area next time. So we hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you later.
Cheers. Bye.